Hi, Fidelity Fortune Hunters. Welcome back to our video series on Active Trader Pro. Okay, what happens if you've got the multiple moving averages down pat now and you know where you want to put your trade entry as well as how to measure your risk and your stop loss levels? Well, what happens if the stocks that you've seen have moved too fast or too far? How can you identify some new candidates? Well, that's where I began to poke around with Fidelity's stock screener. Perhaps you haven't seen where it sits in terms of the platform. I'd like to go over that with you in this video, as well as to reinforce some of the ideas we've been building on in our template that we call over on the Forex side of things, Double Whammy Plus. So hold on to your hat if you're interested in big profits. We'll get started right after this. Okay, friends, let's get started. Just for quick review, in case you haven't ever been here before, we use our multiple moving averages to help us identify when a trend is in place. In this particular case, we have the 12, 16, 20, and 24 EMA, and we also added a 47 EMA in order to give us some specific areas to back up our risk and reward. Now, in this particular chart, we're looking at Google, and we have a 195-minute chart. And one of the reasons for that, of course, is it's two candles per session. You can use price bars, whatever, but in this particular case, we are using a 195-minute chart. Now, the situation is here. Back in the middle of October, we had a move to the north. We had a crossover on Google, which means that we're getting started. Then we move above the 47, so we're in pretty good shape here. Now we have our first pullback and our first move to the north. It's followed by a kind of a sell-off prior to the earnings report here, which was back on, the 28th of October, before the earnings came out, and then we had a big move to the north. Those of you who've seen these videos before know that this kind of a configuration is a very powerful bullish configuration. You get a breach up, you get this nice move to the north after we have the earnings report, a nice gap, and we hold here. We don't pull back even into the bands, which means that we probably have, after a couple or 3 days, a nice move further into the stratosphere. Now we've been chopping around in this area here since then. We did have one more move over here that was worth it probably from an options or investment point of view on the call side or the put credit spread sale. But in any event, here was a nice candle configuration, a morning star, down, uncertainty, up, and off we go, and north up into this 825 area where we topped out back here on the 2nd of December. Now we've gone into a year-end kind of selling thing. We were wondering what to do about a new COVID increase in the U.S. and so on and so forth, and Google's been sued. And so there's lots of chaos in the market right now, but this pattern isn't one that really we want to probably trade right now. It isn't quite to the downside yet. Maybe we have a little sell-off, but we're also holding here above the split, at least for the time being. We've kind of closed the gap, but in any event, Google may be not the right situation for us right now. So what do we do if we're looking for new ideas and new stocks? Well, one of the things that I've been toying around with and tinkering with here is something that I can share with you now. News and research, if you click there, and we come down to the stocks area, there is not only the research center and some expert strategies and so forth, but just for our own purposes here, let's take a look at what the screener does. If we click there, left click, the website comes up, and we see here Fidelity's stock screener. Now what happens is, very simply, right now you can develop a criteria. There are none applied at the present time. We'd like to add some, and so let's simply go down the list here by dropping our slide bar down. under the most popular. Let's say that we don't want to get into the very high price stocks, but that perhaps what we would like to do is take a look at the mediums or the highs, not the very highs, but let's take a look at the high 25 bucks to 60 bucks approximately. We have 1,153 candidates there. We can add additional criteria here if we'd like to. And I'll give you a few ideas of mine, and you can obviously tinker along. I'm not so interested in the fundamentals here, but I will take a look at security type, and we'll get rid of some of the other depository receipts and the REITs and so forth. Let's just go with common stocks. That brings us down to 984 candidates. It cuts back a little bit here just to get rid of some of the stuff. Now, you could also go and do a scan on ETFs that was above the stock area. That's perfectly plausible. Maybe you'd like to do that and take a look at those situations. But in any event, I want to come down now because one of the things that we've done, you can either do some kind of a price change today percentage. You could do a gap up kind of an analysis should you wish to do that. Let's say if you were doing earnings and you had a positive earnings report and we had a nice price change up, you could watch that on, say, a 78-minute chart or a 195-minute chart, and you could see if there is very little selling pressure. In other words, it comes up with one of those configurations we just pointed out to you where the price bars all hold above the 12 EMA, and that's a pretty good indication that perhaps it's powering higher over time. But I want to come down here to another area and show you down here in the technicals area. And let's see what we've got going on here. We'll click on that. And I would like to suggest that we have this 20-day simple moving average. That's not quite like our EMA, but if the price is up and off of the 20-day simple moving average, either to the plus side or the downside, that might be something that we'd like to see because it will kind of mirror whether or not we're above our 24 EMA, and that would be a situation in which the 12's above the 24 is above the 47, and so we should likely find some candidates that are in a positive move higher. Okay, so that's one thing we can do, and we plug that in. Now, how do we want to do that? Let's come down here and bring our slide bar down. Do we want very high? Well, I'm afraid what you're going to find if we do this, and I'll show you in just a second, is that this is going to give us candidates that have already made the move. Let's see what that looks like just for fun. We're going to plug that in, and also we could conceivably do another one of these things. Let's see what we got going on here with our technical analysis here. Hang on one sec. Down we go to the technicals, and we're going to come down and see if we can find one more. Okay, let's see about oscillator technical event. And so in that particular case, what we're going to look for is a bullish or a bearish indicator over here. Okay, so now we have a number of these stocks appearing before us. Let me open this website up a little more so you can see. We have some bearish oscillators, bullish, but here's one that's quite interesting. We have a 98%, and we have 9 bullish oscillators against only 1 bearish oscillator. This stock we have never heard about, DermTech, for example. So now what we're going to do, we could either save this set of criteria we just came up with, or we can simply downsize this. Let's do that. It will show up down in your tools in use when you're done. And now let's see what I've forgotten now. That's ridiculous. I've forgotten the symbol. Hang on one second. Let's see what we got going on here. DermTech, DMTK. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see what we got going on. DMTK, DMTK. And let's see what's happened. And look at what's happened. Boy, this is one of those areas where, obviously, as we mentioned, because the percentage is so far above our 20 simple moving average down in this area, the stock has absolutely taken off like a scalded cat. So that's one way that we could begin to analyze some of our newer stocks. Now, what I suggested to you is one way might be to go back to our screening tool. Okay, right here. And we could conceivably send this. Let's take a look at how we're going to do this. We may not want it to be very high, which was 13 or 14% and above. Okay, so let's pop down here and see if we can find some other candidates that might be better. How about 6 to 13, 7 to 13, and we'll get rid of the very highs. That gives us 141. And we've got, let's say, 5 to 1 on the bullish versus bearish. So let's try Enova International, whatever the heck that is, ENVA. ENVA, come back over to here, ENVA. Oops, ENVA, I spelled it wrong, sorry. You're seeing the worst of me here. ENVA. Okay, perfect. Now look at this. This is something that maybe we even want to go lower on a percentage. This has made its move, but obviously up in this range here, we might find an opportunity. This is an area where if it hasn't moved too quickly, you can begin to play around with this, and at least you're able to have a poor man's version of your multiple moving average in terms of searching through thousands of security symbols at one time. Okay, so let's come back and review. Here we have our tools in use. We don't need 3 copies of this, so let's get rid of 2 of them. The browser is here. This was available to you over in the news and research section. And as I mentioned to you before, you could do the same thing on ETFs with a screener here. And your stock screener was the one we just picked. So I hope that at least kicks it off for you, gives you an opportunity to play around with the indications and the earnings and the PE ratios and the capitalization rates and all the things that you think might lead you to an opportunity for stock picking without having to pay thousands of dollars to some watch service that's just doing this same kind of work for you. Hope that helps, guys. Give us a like if this material helps your trading. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell if you want an alert on upcoming material. Welcome to our Forex and Fidelity Active Trader Pro video series. Hope you have happy holidays, and thanks for watching.